Welcome back. We continue our live coverage. Ukraine has declared martial law as Russian troops and tanks push further into the country. Russian airstrikes hitting military installations, airfields overnight. Government facilities also hit across Ukraine. Ukrainians are waking up to air raid sirens, people scrambling to evacuate. It is midday in Ukraine right now. Putin is warning the West to stay out of his way or face, quote, consequences you have never had before in your history, unquote. Steve Harrigan has been on the ground in Kyiv this morning. He continues even as the shells are coming down. Steve, tell us what you're seeing.
We are hearing air raid sirens going off behind me right now. We've heard them 3 or 4 times this morning. It hasn't often meant that strikes are coming. The strikes started today here in the capital about 1 hour before dawn. We've seen about 20 explosions since then. They seem to be targeting command and control military buildings. We've had no reports of mass casualties here. It looks like this is the first wave of an attack, which could get a lot bigger, and we could see ground forces come in. It's a real question mark whether the ground troops will stop outside of this capital city of 3 million or whether they'll try to come inside. We heard from the president of Ukraine a short time ago. As these sirens continue to wail, you can tell how scary it is for people. You got this wailing air raid sirens on top of explosions. It's no wonder that cars heading out west towards Poland are filling the highway and actually jamming the highway. So it's a real question mark whether those troops will stop outside the capital or whether they'll come inside. The president here, Zelensky, has basically said Vladimir Putin is evil, and he wants to talk directly to the Russian people. He wants them to rebel against Putin. He's calling for blood donations, and he's saying he'll arm anyone. Anyone who wants a weapon to fight against the Russians can have it. It gives you a sense of the dire situation that could soon be developing here in Kyiv. Maria.
How many troops, further troops, are you expecting there, Steve? Germany's top army commander is saying that his forces are more or less powerless. We're hearing from the German army saying they're more or less powerless and can offer only limited support to allies as the NATO members ramp up support for the eastern members following this attack. What are you expecting in the way of support and further troops there in Ukraine?
As far as troops go, we expect to see zero support on the ground from NATO or Western or U.S. troops at all. I think that's been made pretty clear. We are likely to see more troops, though, head to NATO countries that border Ukraine for fear that this could grow or spill over into a NATO country. As far as support for Ukraine goes, I think it's mainly going to be weapons. We've seen a lot, hundreds of millions of dollars come in. And if this continues to escalate, we're likely to see a lot more. I think it's the way the West will attempt to bleed Russia on the battlefield. Maria?
Well, the Russian army and Russian troops and tanks want to take out this government of Ukraine, obviously want to take control. What do we know about President Zelensky? What do we know about his team in terms of their safety right now?
Well, he's been on TV a few times. He's a novice politically. He was formerly a comedian and a television star, and now he's, probably the most hunted man in the world. Certainly, U.S. intelligence has said that Russia intends to detain or kill political leaders. Russia denies that, but certainly Zelensky would be on any Russian list. How they're going to do that, can they do that, will they do that, all question marks right now. But Zelensky looks like he's staying put, and he continues to lead, although martial law here is in effect right now. The military is in charge.
The military is in charge as we watch lines of cars trying to get out of Kyiv, but there are still reports of people staying put. What are you seeing on the ground there, Steve, in terms of people out in the streets? The lineup of cars is what we saw earlier in Kyiv. Is that still the situation in terms of people fleeing?
It is still the situation. People really found it hard to believe that Russia would launch a massive attack and attack this capital. And once things started to explode here and those sirens started to wail, people got in their cars and took to the highway. a lot of them at the same time. So that's been a jam up. People also trying to get money out of the bank or get food. That's also been very hard. I think it was hard for people to accept that this was going to happen, and I don't think the government prepared people for what could happen. You put those two things together, and you have traffic jams on the highway, people really trying to flee missile attacks.
All right. We will check back with you, Steve. Stay safe. Thankfully, you've got your bulletproof vest and hat on. We are praying for your safety and thankful for your reporting, Steve. Thank you. Steve Harrigan is in the middle of it all this morning in Kyiv. We will get back